Hey Ella, this problem here is number 4 on page 70. This is solving a proof or completing a proof that's geometric in nature. So your quiz question is going to look similar to this. You're going to have some statements and or some reasons, and you're going to fill in the gaps. So let's talk through this one. I know we did it in class, and I know I didn't do a great job of doing it in class, so I want to give it some more time here. So what the problem here says, it says we're given that angle 1 is complementary to angle 2, and I didn't write a 1. So angle 1 is complementary to angle 2 here. We're also given the fact that ray BE bisects angle DBC. So let's carefully, before we even do the proof stuff, let's try to understand what we can learn from the given statements given the picture. You probably can't see my picture well, so I would advise looking at the one in your book as I'm doing this. Okay, so angle 1 is complementary to angle 2. That means that this angle and this angle, 1 and 2, they form a 90-degree angle, because if they are complementary to one another, they form a 90-degree angle. So ultimately, we're going to be able to say that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 is 90. Okay, so that's good to know. Additionally, we can see that ray BE, so BE, bisects DBC, DBC. So let's draw something in our picture real quick to represent that. If we know that that ray is bisecting, that means angle 2 and angle 3 are going to be congruent to one another, because ray BE is chopping DBC in half. So that's a bigly important thing. Our goal here is to prove that angle 1 is complementary to angle 3. Well, I mean, I think you can see the logic here. We have to spell it out. But if angle 1 plus angle 2 is 90 degrees, and then this statement tells us that 2 and 3 have the same angle measure, well, then we can quickly see that 1 plus 3 is also going to be 90. That's kind of the logic that we're using here, but we need to spell every little piece out. That's the whole purpose of the proof here. So for our statements, we're given, all the stuff that's here is given. The stuff that we are writing, the new stuff, I'm going to write in red for us. So ray BE bisects DBC. Well, that's given to us. It's right there. So let's just write given for this particular statement, for this reason. And notice it's not the first given statement. That's okay. It's fine. It's still given. We don't have to do this in any particular order. As long as the logic makes sense, it's a win. Okay, next. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 3. Well, how do we know that? It looks like we have that marked over here already. We did that step in the picture, but we know that because ray BE bisects DBC. So what is our reason here? Something along the lines of, I would say, definition of, I'm going to abbreviate here just for space. I'd say angle bisector. And that's our reason. That's how we know that angle 2 is congruent to angle 3. And we have that marked. Now this next one, the third one, this step is a little bit overkill, but technically we need to include it. So the way it's going to look, we know that angle 2 and angle 3 are congruent to one another. So what that means is, by definition, that the measure of angle 2 has the same measure as angle 3. So, and the reason for that one, it's a little off kilter here, but number 3, is that's just the definition of congruent angles. So we know that if the angles are congruent, that their angle measures are equal to one another, and we have to spell that out. Okay, next step, number 4. Angle 1 is complementary to angle 2. That's our statement. How do we know? Well, I'm looking at our given statements, and that's given to us. So step 4, we're going to write given. And that's weird. We're used to the given statement being the first thing, but it doesn't have to be. If it's given to us, it's given to us. Again, there's no right order for all of this as long as it makes logical sense. Okay, number 4. Nope, that was number 4. Number 5. Angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals blah. Well, we need to fill that in. That's our job. So looking at step 4 right above, we know that angle 1 is complementary to angle 2. So that means angle 1 plus measure of angle 2 is 90 degrees. And how do we know that? It's just going to be definition of, again, I'm going to abbreviate, it's complementary angles. Definition of complementary angles. Okay, step number 6. Again, we're spelling it out here. Measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 3 equals 90 degrees. Well, how do we know that? How do we know that? This seems like a big leap. We know that 1 plus 2 is 90. How did we get 1 plus 3 is 90? Well, we are connecting this idea from number 5 to this idea from step number 3. Because measure of angle 2 and the measure of angle 3 are the same, we can then say that if the angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 is 90, then the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 3 is also 90, and this is just substitution. So we substituted in the measure of angle 3 for the measure of angle 2 from this step. Again, we did that because of step number 3. We have this information in our back pocket, and now we're using it here at step number 6. Okay, so that's that piece. Now, the very last statement here, I think it's safe to say, like, we know it's going to be our proof statement. Angle 1 is complementary to angle 3, because that's the whole purpose of the proof, is to prove the thing. But we need to make sure that that makes sense. Well, the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 3 is 90 degrees. We've shown that with all of this. Therefore, by definition, the complementary angles here, angle 1 is indeed complementary to angle 3. So we'd write that in. Angle 1 is, I'm going to abbreviate again, is complementary to angle 3. This is how I would prove number 4 on page 70. I think that this one, you're going to want to know how to do something like this for the quiz. It's not exactly this, but understanding, like, definition of blah, like knowing when to use the different things, I think will be very helpful for you on the quiz. All right, feel free to pause, rewind, do whatever you need to do. Let me know if you have questions. Kudos to you for reaching out. That's a big deal. That means a lot. I'm happy to make videos like this for somebody who's working really hard like yourself. So please don't feel bad. This is awesome. This is what I love to do. So keep it up. You're doing awesome. And let me know if you have more questions.